Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the corner. Welcome to your latest Chelsea transfer news. Lots popping off in regards to Aaron Anselmino returning from Dortmund to Chelsea Football Club. It seems like Dortmund, their hierarchies are absolutely pissed off, as you can see on the screen. We're going to delve deep on that situation. And to be honest, I kind of understand why they are upset, because we've not really given them enough time to do something about it. And it seems like Aaron Anselmino was actually a very important player. In fact, he definitely is a very important player for Dortmund. And Niko Kovac, who's the manager over there, I'm pretty sure it's Niko Kovac, let me know in the comment section. He did fancy Anselmino for a long term as well. But once again, you have to be careful. He's a lone player. He's a loanee. Don't get too attached. And at the same time, Anselmino seems like he was attached to Dortmund as well, because there's some tears when he was saying goodbye to them. So we've got that news that we want to delve deep into. We also want to talk about Cole Palmer, where there is a little bit of smoke. There is always a little bit of fire. I don't think he's looking for a move in this window. That's 100% for sure. But what happens in the summer, we do need to talk a little bit about that. And we've got other bits and bobs that's been flying around, floating around in relation to this January transfer window for Chelsea Football Club. What does it mean? What are we looking for? Fabrizio Romano's got some latest on that, and we want to talk about that. He's got the latest in regards to, us in the transfer market every single window, stating that we're doing a lot of business. We're very busy. Every time he says that, and then the busy business that we end up doing is nothing that takes us to win the Premier League down the track. And this is the message that I want to drive always. Before we delve deep into Aaron Anselmino's story, I want to make it abundantly clear. 4th season under the ownership right now. Next season, 5th season. I want to win the Premier League. So everything Chelsea Football Club does from here on, it needs to be directly correlated to Chelsea winning the Premier League. If it's not, then I'm sorry. All of this is nonsense then. All of this will be deemed as nonsense. Now, let's kick things off from this news. It's coming from Bild, however you want to pronounce it. Dortmund bosses are pissed off at Chelsea for recalling Anselmino with such little time left in the transfer window. In one hand, I get it. He's actually a starter. He's been going through a lot of injury, by the way, mind you. Keep that in your mind all the time. Aaron Anselmino could potentially be an injury-prone player. He's been injured at least 2 or 3 times already at Dortmund. However, every time he's returned back, he's been slotted into the starting position immediately, because Dortmund value him. Dortmund's manager values him as well. And as I said, they did look into purchasing him for a long-term permanent deal in the summer. There are some other rumors that we might have potentially called him back, not necessarily to play for Chelsea, but maybe sending him to Strasbourg because we want to call back Mamadou Sarr. So giving Strasbourg to something to work with, and at the same time getting a CB back from them, because our first primary target, Jeremy Jacquet, we are unable to get his signature in this window. I mean, we are still working on him, to get his green light for the summer window. We're going to start negotiations now, but we can't actually bring him over in this window and help us out in this remainder part of this season, because Rennes are really holding out on him and they value him a lot, and he's an important player for Rennes at the moment. So look, Dortmund, I understand their frustration. According to Bild, the decision to recall Anselmino has left Dortmund chiefs astonished and furious. Look, from a business standpoint, it's probably not a very good way to handle your dealings. And Chelsea, when it comes to business, they generally do well. One thing our owners, they're very good at is making sure business relationships are always intact. And we've got a good relationship with Dortmund. Kani Chukwuemeka's gone there. I think, Jadon Sancho obviously was a Man United player, but, had some relationship with Dortmund as well. I'm just trying to think if we've sent anyone else. Obviously, Anselmino. So we have a little bit of business relationship that we were, looking to work on. But with this situation with Anselmino, I think any future deals, both Borussia Dortmund and Chelsea Football Club, especially Borussia Dortmund, they're going to be a little bit tentative when dealing with Chelsea. The first reason for their reported anger is due to the lack of communication and notice from Chelsea, with no indication provided beforehand of their interest to recall Anselmino. Dortmund were also hopeful of signing Anselmino permanently, despite no clause in the original framework to do so. I think, look, multiple things are in play here. Chelsea's come to a realization off the back of Liam Rossignol, the way he plays out from the back. It's it's a bit ironic because Enzo Maresca wanted a centre-back, but nonetheless, in this window, Chelsea Football Club and the hierarchies have realised a centre-back is important for Liam Rossignol. Liam Rossignol kind of alluded on that as well. And we've started to go for Jeremy Jacquet. Then we realised Jeremy Jacquet, Rennes is asking for an important amount of money, £60 million odd plus, which kind of puts us away from the market, which then makes us think of alternatives. And what alternatives do we have? Mamadou Sarr and Anselmino for the time being. So I get the frustration of Dortmund because we are unable to execute our primary objective, and now we've come to secondary objectives, which, in all honesty, ultimately he's our player. Yeah, we have every right to recall him back, but we do need to be very careful that we don't just spring this sort of news on teams like Dortmund or whoever we send our loanees to, that we give them a little bit of time to work on a replacement. They still have a few more days to replace, but as I said, Anselmino was actually an important part of Dortmund, albeit he's gone through injuries, but he was deemed and seen as an important factor. So little bit of our mishap, little bit of our lack of due diligence, lack of, I suppose, incompetency, basically, which has then led to this. Look, as I said, there is another twist here, potentially. Anselmino might not actually play for Chelsea. I don't know. These are some of the comments that are coming through, which kind of makes sense. Anselmino might not actually play for Chelsea. We want to recall him back and then send him off to Strasbourg so we can actually bring back Mamadou Sarr. So let's see what happens. As I said, does any of this make us win the Premier League next season? The answer is no. So for me, look, I'm going to stand strong on my ground that we need an experience level defender in the backline. For all of these kids, more kids is not the answer. Kids require a grown-up, not just any sort of grown-up, a grown-up that has been excellent at the highest level for a long period of time. Much like Thiago Silva, much like Sergio Ramos, much like Rudiger, much like many others, right? Those are the type of players that we need right now in our centre-back position so they can guide some of these youngsters and really help them develop even further. How are kids meant to develop with other kids? I just don't know. I don't think it's possible. But nonetheless, this is what Chelsea's doing. I've given my verdict that me personally, I don't think any of this stuff makes us Premier League, massive contenders next season. We shall see what other businesses that we do down the track. But the way our owners are going, it doesn't seem like they're going to do anything substantial. But nonetheless, Anselmino is a very good player. I feel there's immense quality about him. He could potentially turn out to be a very, very solid defender on and off the ball. Whether it's at Chelsea initially, whether it's Strasbourg down the track, we shall see. Mamadou Sarr, similarly, I think he's a very, very talented CB who's representing Senegal at the highest level and now is also a African Cup of Nations champion. So he's done his bit and maybe he's far more ready to be included in Chelsea Football Club's defensive line for the time being. But we shall see how it all transpires. Anselmino in tears as he says goodbye to Dortmund. I mean, this guy, it seems like he fell in love with Dortmund. I don't know if he was really looking forward to coming back. This is just as much a shock to Dortmund, to Anselmino as well. He's in tears saying goodbye. He's made some attachments to that club. He's emotionally looks like he's very attached to that club. So the message is for me, any loanee players, when you go to your loan club, don't get too attached. But it looks like maybe Chelsea's done the right thing, that before you start getting way too involved, remember who your daddy is. Remember your papa. We're your papa. Don't forget. Just because out of sight, out of mind, no. Let's come back. Let's see what you can give for Chelsea Football Club. The recall of Anselmino has burdened the relationship between Dortmund and Chelsea owner Bahdad Iqbali. Industry sources believe Chelsea recalled the player to put pressure on Rennes to lower the price for Jacquet. This is what Dortmund are also hoping is the case. I mean, look, if that is the case, by bringing Anselmino back and Rennes gonna, they're gonna shake and they're gonna shiver. Oh my God, what are we gonna do now? Apparently, there's Bayern Munich involved. There's Manchester City involved. There's Liverpool involved. I don't think Rennes really gives two shits about Chelsea Football Club. They know what the price tag they've slapped on Jacquet, and they're going to wait on that. And in fact, Rennes, they're looking to do something important this season, and it seems like Jeremy Jacquet is a very important player for them this season, and they don't want to just lose him for peanuts. Do you know what I mean? So let's see. Me personally, I don't think bringing Anselmino back is really going to put any level of pressure on Rennes. I don't think they're too worried about it because they know Jeremy Jacquet has got a big market out there. Borussia Dortmund made people close to Aaron Anselmino aware in December that they wanted to buy him in the summer on a permanent transfer. They were preparing a bid and budget for it, but Chelsea made it clear he's part of their long-term plan. Look, who knows? They might still come back in the summer asking for Anselmino. And if there is a big offer on the table for Chelsea Football Club for Aaron Anselmino, somewhere around, 40, 45 million, who knows, maybe even close to 50 million. Yeah, market's crazy. Then I'm sure Chelsea Football Club might entertain that. But then again, Dortmund they're not a club that deals with 40, 45 million, 50 million. They're a club that deals with 20, 25 and 30 million and maybe even less. So from that perspective, maybe there might not be any deal. And now the fact that the relationship's a little bit sour between Dortmund and Chelsea, the fact that we've recalled Anselmino back, whether there's going to be a future transaction that happens between the clubs, I highly doubt it. Now, next up, Justin. Chelsea are going to be busy in final days of January. They want to make some movements. Chelsea are assessing their CB options too, even after recall of Anselmino. And there's different names on midfield list other than Douglas Luiz, who still remains an option. Fabrizio Romano, every window he talks about this, that we are going to be busy. We are going to be busy. Look, sometimes I wish we weren't that busy. And sometimes I wish we were busy for the right players, not just busy for the sake of being busy. Do you know what I mean? Definitely, it seems like we want to continue doing something in the CB position, but it also seems like we want to do something in the midfield as well. Look, we are forever linked with Douglas Luiz in this transfer window. It seems like, when I say forever, I exaggerate. In the last couple of weeks, we've been linked with Douglas Luiz. Me personally, I don't see any need for Douglas Luiz, right? I feel like you've got Andre Santos, you've got Caicedo, you've got Enzo Fernandez. Now, I get it. If you're playing all three at the same time, plus Reece James, then it's a bit of a shift and change. And don't forget, there's no Lavia and Asugu in the bench. There's no midfielders available. So I get that. When you play all of them, there is a requirement to bring in a midfielder. And it seems like Liam Rafsinho might continue with Caicedo, Andre Santos, and Enzo Fernandez as a trio predominantly in most of the matches. So there might be a necessity now to bring in a midfielder. I just don't think someone like Douglas Luiz really adds anything at the moment. He's on a decline. I rather just look for something else, man. Look, as I said, apparently N'Golo Kante is available. I know Chelsea Football Club's not going to do that. I'd go for someone like N'Golo Kante, who's still a boss, absolute boss. He knows what Chelsea Football Club's all about. Players will be so excited to see him back. I don't think it's going to happen. But me personally, Douglas Luiz, once again, I mean, if it's a dry loan, fine, fair enough. If we don't have to pay any fees, we don't have to pay any wages, and it's simply he just comes in, stays here for 6 months. But I don't want just someone to come in and just stay here for 6 months. You got to do a job. You got to do a job. So let's see what happens in the midfield position. But don't forget, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer, once he comes back, then obviously one of these midfielders will need to sit on the bench. And then all of a sudden you have cover again. And Reece James not always going to play every single game. There will be games where he'll be in the bench, or there will be games where he might also operate in midfield. Against Crystal Palace, there was a moment when Caicedo left. Reece James operated from midfield. He was started off as a right back, then went on to midfield. So we shall see exactly what Liam Rossignol does. How often does he play Reece James at right back position? Does he bring him to midfield? We shall see. We shall see that. How often does this really happen? But maybe there might be a room to bring in another midfielder. I just hope that it's not someone that is here to waste time at Chelsea Football Club. That we really need you to perform. Douglas Luiz is an option in case Chelsea and Juve agree a deal. Has to be a loan with no obligation. Let's see what Chelsea do. They will be busy because they want to make some movements. Yeah, look, if it's no obligation, just a loan, no obligation, all right, fair enough. But bring in someone who's actually going to make an impact, who's actually going to make a difference. I just don't want just anybody to just come here and just make up the numbers. Like, I need impact. I definitely need impact. Chelsea are trying to sign Genk left back Yaima Medina and then send him to Strasbourg. Genk considers it currently unnegotiable. So trying to do some business for Strasbourg. I want to do a video on Strasbourg on my second channel. By the way, if you've not seen my video on the second channel, I've been a little bit inconsistent there. I'm going to try and be as consistent as possible. I've dropped the latest video there in relation to Arsenal. Are they bottling the league? So go check that out. I need to do a video on Strasbourg on that channel as well. Strasbourg, since Gary O'Neill has taken over, they've been thumping teams, man. So, always one eye on Strasbourg, because seems like there are certain talents that are doing well there, and they could potentially become Chelsea players. Look, me, as I said, I'm going to maintain my stance. We've got enough kids. We need a couple of really good experience at the highest level. Tosin is not the example. We need those type of players, experience at the highest level for a long period of time. We need them to come in and really help us become Premier League champions down the track. So if that doesn't happen, then these owners, you need to bounce. You need to bounce. Now, we need to talk about this. Samuel Luckhurst, I think he's a Man United journalist. Now, check this out. He's got 670K followers. This isn't some sort of a stupid journalist, right? 670K followers. You're doing something. Manchester United correspondent at The Sun. See, that's where I'm a little bit... When I see at The Sun, I'm like, yeah, that is a bad source. But 670K followers... Man United correspondent, former chief United writer at the Men. Surely there's some form of truth. As I said, where there is a little bit of smoke, there's always a little bit of fire. What's he saying? And he's been saying this for the last few weeks, right? Moving to boyhood club United appeals to Cole Palmer, who's missing life in Manchester. Club well stocked with number 10s left footers. Wilcox oversaw Palmer's development at City. I mean, where do we stand on this? Do we need to start thinking about a life beyond Cole Palmer? First of all, look, what are the facts? The fact is, Cole Palmer for the past probably 18 months, not 18 months, probably for the past 12 months, he's been a bit lackluster. Ever since Pochettino's season, he has been a bit lackluster. There's been games where he's lit it up. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely, there's been games, PSG final in the Club World Cup. Real Betis in the Conference League final as well. He's lit it up at times. But it hasn't been as consistent as his first season under Pochettino when he came to Chelsea Football Club. Compound that with his injuries as well, growing injury, which is hampered most of this season for him, which I think will hamper his position in the World Cup squad for England. I don't know, man. I don't know. Did he really enjoy his time under Enzo Maresca all the time? Like, does he? I've said in my recent video when we talked about this news that I don't think being homesick is the problem with Cole Palmer. I think what the issue with Cole Palmer is he might be fed up with Chelsea Football Club. He might be fed up with the way we are run. He might be fed up with the way we are chopping and changing managers willy-nilly. Since he's arrived, Pochettino left. Enzo Maresca's left. This is his third manager, Liam Rossignol. in his short Chelsea career. He's already seen 3 managers. He's seen many players come and leave. And he's probably at a position where he wants Chelsea to compete for the Premier League. Sure, he's injured. He's not being, able to help Chelsea Football Club, but he probably doesn't like the direction the owners are going towards and how the owners have doubled down that this is the project, this is the philosophy we're going to run. Is he over that? Is he fed up with that? Perhaps he is. I'm not sure about the homesick thing. That might play a little bit, but I think he might be fed up with Chelsea Football Club. So, look, watch this space. See what happens in the summer. We have been winning games without Cole Palmer as well, and it seems like Esteban Willian might be the future. By no means I want Cole Palmer gone, by the way. I still think Cole Palmer is our best attacker. I want him to stay. I think a team with Cole Palmer and Esteban Willian is a far superior team as opposed to a team without Cole Palmer. However, people don't just willy-nilly throw these sort of things about, especially when they're these type of journalists that have got large followings. Man United correspondent. And it's well documented. He's obviously a Manchester boy. He's got affiliation with Manchester, the city. He's obviously got friends and family there. It's not too far-fetched to think that one day he wants to probably go back there. Now, when is that one day? That is the question. This summer that's coming up, if our owners don't do enough to build a team to win the Premier League next season, I think some of these players will rethink their situation at Chelsea. They will rethink their position. And that's the bottom line. Because none of these players want to stick around and just keep making it into Champions League positions. They want to win trophies. And if we are unable to win trophies and unable to compete for those trophies, they're gone. They're gone. So let's see. Hopefully it's not true. Hopefully our owners do something serious and keep some of these top players. I think it's going to be vital in the summer to keep the likes of Enzo Fernandez, keep the likes of Cole Palmer, Caicedo, and all of these, Cucurella, Reece James, all of these players need to stay. And then you add more quality to that to help us win the Premier League next season. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts about everything we spoke about. Aaron Anselmino drama. Dortmund, seems like the relationship might be broken with Chelsea. Cole Palmer as well right at the end. Your thoughts, leave it in the comment section. Smash up the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. Hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Check out my second channel, the latest video there, Arsenal bottling the league. Make sure you give that a watch, like and subscribe there as well. And hype everywhere. Hype here, hype there, hype everywhere. It helps the growth of the channel. Until next time, everyone, take care. See ya.